Understanding true wealth. Is it possible that true wealth is found not in material possessions, but in our mindset? When we think about wealth, our minds often turn to material possessions, money, property, luxury goods. These are the things that society frequently associates with success and happiness. But is it possible that true wealth is found not in these external objects, but rather in something much deeper, something within us? This is a question that has intrigued philosophers for centuries, and Stoicism offers a compelling perspective on the nature of true wealth. The Stoics believed that true wealth is not measured by the abundance of material goods, but by the richness of our inner lives. They argued that material possessions are inherently unstable. They can be gained and lost. They can bring temporary pleasure, but they can also bring anxiety, attachment, and even fear of losing what we have. In contrast, the wealth that comes from a well-cultivated mindset is enduring and imperishable. This wealth includes virtues such as wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice, qualities that no external force can take away from us. And time. Consider how often we see people who have accumulated great material wealth, but still feel empty, anxious, or unfulfilled. Despite having everything that money can buy, they may still be searching for meaning and contentment. This suggests that the pursuit of material wealth alone is insufficient for a fulfilling life. The Stoics would argue that this is because external wealth does not address the deeper needs of the human soul. The need for purpose, for inner peace, for a sense of connection to something greater than oneself. True wealth, according to Stoic philosophy, is found in the cultivation of our inner resources. It is about developing a mindset that is resilient in the face of adversity, that finds contentment not in external circumstances, but in the quality of our thoughts and actions. When we cultivate virtues such as wisdom and self-discipline, we create a foundation of inner wealth that supports us through the inevitable ups and downs of life. This kind of wealth does not fluctuate with the stock market or diminish with age. It only grows stronger with practice and reflection. One of the key teachings of Stoicism is that our happiness and well-being are not dependent on external things, but on our own perceptions and judgments. If we believe that our happiness comes from acquiring more possessions or achieving certain status symbols, we are setting ourselves up for disappointment. These things are beyond our control. They can be taken away at any moment. But if we understand that our true wealth lies in how we perceive and respond to the world, we gain a kind of invulnerability. We are no longer at the mercy of external circumstances because our sense of well-being is rooted in something that cannot be shaken. This does not mean that Stoicism advocates for a life of asceticism or deprivation. Rather, it encourages us to reframe our relationship with material goods. Instead of seeing them as the source of our happiness, we can see them as neutral, neither good nor bad in themselves, but useful depending on how we use them. A Stoic might enjoy material comforts, but would not be attached to them. Their happiness would not depend on having or losing these things. This detachment allows us to enjoy what we have without being enslaved by it. But how do we cultivate this mindset of true wealth? The Stoics offer practical advice on this front. One approach is through the practice of gratitude, regularly reflecting on what we have rather than what we lack. This shifts our focus from what is missing in our lives to what is already present, fostering a sense of contentment. Another practice is voluntary discomfort, where we intentionally experience discomfort, such as fasting or cold exposure, to remind ourselves that we do not need luxury to be content. This practice builds resilience and helps us appreciate the basics that we often take for granted. As we reflect on these ideas, we might ask ourselves, how much of our time and energy is spent pursuing material wealth, and how much is invested in cultivating our inner resources? What would happen if we shifted our focus from acquiring more to appreciating and developing what we already have within? Could it be that by turning inward, we discover a form of wealth that is far more satisfying and enduring than anything the external world can offer? The enduring riches of inner virtue. As we deepen our exploration of what it means to be truly wealthy, we begin to see that the wealth rooted in our mindset is not only more enduring, but also more empowering than any material possession. When we shift our focus from external acquisitions to the cultivation of inner virtues, we tap into a source of wealth that remains with us through every circumstance, unshaken by the fluctuations of fortune or the passage of time. The Stoics teach us that this inner wealth is not only more stable, but also more deeply fulfilling, because it aligns with our true nature as rational and moral beings. The concept of inner virtue is central to Stoic philosophy. The Stoics believed that the highest good in life is to live in accordance with reason and virtue. This means developing qualities such as wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. These virtues are the true riches of life, because they enable us to navigate the world with clarity, purpose, and resilience. They are the qualities that allow us to respond to challenges with strength, to act with integrity even in difficult situations, and to find contentment regardless of our external circumstances. When we cultivate these virtues, we are essentially building a reservoir of inner wealth that we can draw upon in any situation. For example, wisdom allows us to see the world clearly, to understand the true nature of things, and to make decisions that are in harmony with our values. Courage gives us the strength to face fears and difficulties head-on, without being paralyzed by them. Justice ensures that we treat others with fairness and respect, fostering relationships that are based on mutual trust and understanding. Self-discipline helps us to control our impulses and to stay focused on what truly matters, rather than being distracted by fleeting desires or external pressures. This inner wealth is also deeply connected to our sense of identity and self-worth. When we define ourselves by our virtues rather than by our possessions or achievements, we create a sense of self that is stable and grounded. We are no longer dependent on external validation or success to feel valuable. Instead, our worth comes from within, from knowing that we are living in accordance with our highest principles. This self-assuredness allows us to move through life with confidence and grace, untroubled by the ups and downs that might otherwise shake our sense of self. Moreover, the pursuit of inner virtue transforms our relationships with others. When we are guided by virtues like compassion, patience, and honesty, we build connections that are based on mutual respect and genuine care. These relationships are not transactional or superficial. They are deeply meaningful and enriching. They provide us with emotional and moral support, making us feel truly connected to others in a way that material wealth cannot replicate. This sense of connection and belonging is a key component of true wealth, one that is often overlooked in our society's emphasis on individual success and material accumulation. Another profound aspect of inner virtue is its ability to free us from the tyranny of external circumstances. The Stoics teach that while we cannot control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond. This understanding liberates us from the fear and anxiety that often accompany uncertainty. When we are anchored in our virtues, we know that no matter what life throws our way, we have the inner resources to handle it with dignity and composure. This sense of inner security is far more valuable than any external security we might try to build through wealth or status. As we consider these ideas, we might reflect on our own lives and ask ourselves, what are the virtues that guide my actions and decisions? How might my life change if I focused more on cultivating these inner qualities and less on accumulating external wealth? What would it mean to live in a way that is truly aligned with my deepest values? And how would that impact my sense of fulfillment and well-being? Could it be that in pursuing this inner wealth, we find not only greater happiness, but also a deeper connection to our true selves and to the world around us? Maito. The freedom found in detachment from material wealth. As we continue to explore the concept of true wealth, we come to a critical realization that freedom and contentment are often found not in the pursuit of more, but in the practice of detachment from material possessions. The Stoics understood that attachment to material wealth can become a source of anxiety, fear, and dissatisfaction. When we tie our happiness and sense of security to things that are inherently unstable, we place ourselves at the mercy of forces beyond our control. This dependence on external circumstances leaves us vulnerable to disappointment, loss, and the relentless desire for more. Detachment, as taught by the Stoics, is not about renouncing all possessions or living in poverty. Rather, it is about cultivating a mindset that is not dependent on these things for our well-being. It is the understanding that material goods are tools to be used, not treasures to be hoarded. By developing this perspective, we free ourselves from the constant cycle of craving and acquisition that characterizes so much of modern life. We learn to appreciate what we have without being enslaved by it. And we find contentment in knowing that our happiness does not rely on the accumulation of more. This detachment leads to a profound sense of freedom. When we are no longer attached to material wealth, we are free to live according to our values rather than according to the demands of status, success, or societal expectations. We are free to make choices that align with our true selves, rather than being driven by the fear of loss or the desire to impress others. This freedom allows us to pursue paths that are meaningful to us, whether they involve creative expression, service to others, or the pursuit of knowledge and wisdom. Moreover, detachment from material wealth fosters a sense of gratitude for what we already have. When we stop constantly striving for more, we begin to appreciate the abundance that is already present in our lives. This gratitude is not about settling for less, but about recognizing the richness of life that comes from our relationships, our experiences, and our inner growth. It is about seeing the value in simplicity and understanding that true wealth is not measured by quantity, but by the quality of our lives and the depth of our connections. The Stoics also teach that detachment from material wealth helps us to cultivate resilience. When we are not dependent on external possessions for our happiness, we are better able to withstand the inevitable changes and challenges of life. We become less affected by loss, knowing that our sense of self and well-being is rooted in something deeper and more enduring than what we own. This resilience allows us to navigate life's uncertainties with a sense of calm and confidence, knowing that we are equipped to handle whatever comes our way. This concept of detachment is closely tied to the Stoic practice of voluntary discomfort. Intentionally experiencing moments of discomfort or deprivation to remind ourselves that we do not need luxury to be content. By periodically giving up comforts or luxuries, we train ourselves to be less reliant on them and to appreciate the basics that we often take for granted. This practice strengthens our ability to find contentment in any situation, and it reinforces the understanding that true wealth is found not in what we possess, but in how we perceive and respond to the world around us. As we reflect on these ideas, we might ask ourselves, how much of our time and energy is spent in the pursuit of material wealth, and what impact does this have on our sense of freedom and happiness? What would it mean to live a life that is guided by our inner values rather than by external expectations? How might we cultivate a mindset of detachment where our happiness is not tied to what we have, but to who we are and how we live? Could it be that in letting go of our attachment to material wealth, we discover a deeper, more enduring form of freedom and contentment? The infinite wealth of a fulfilled life. As we conclude our exploration of true wealth, we arrive at a profound understanding that the most valuable wealth is not something that can be measured, counted, or held in our hands. Instead, it is found in the fulfillment of living a life aligned with our deepest values, where inner peace and purpose guide our every action. The Stoics teach us that when we prioritize the cultivation of our character, the pursuit of wisdom, and the nurturing of meaningful relationships, we unlock a form of wealth that transcends the material and endures through all the changes and challenges that life brings. This kind of wealth is infinite because it is not limited by external circumstances. It grows from within, expanding as we continue to develop our virtues and deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Unlike material possessions, which can be lost, stolen, or destroyed, the wealth that comes from a fulfilled life is something that can never be taken away. It is the inner strength that allows us to face adversity with grace, the clarity that helps us navigate complex decisions, and the joy that comes from knowing we are living authentically and meaningfully. The Stoics believed that true wealth is found in the pursuit of eudaimonia, a state of flourishing that comes from living in harmony with our true nature. This flourishing is not about external success or the accumulation of goods, but about realizing our potential as rational and moral beings. It is about living with integrity, making choices that reflect our highest ideals, and contributing to the well-being of others. This sense of purpose and connection gives our lives meaning, and it is through this meaning that we experience the deepest form of wealth. Moreover, a fulfilled life is one that is rich in relationships and community. The Stoics understood that we are social creatures and that our well-being is closely tied to the quality of our connections with others. When we build relationships based on mutual respect, trust, and genuine care, we create a network of support and love that enriches our lives in ways that material wealth never can. These relationships are the true treasures of life, providing us with companionship, understanding, and a sense of belonging that are essential for our happiness. Another aspect of a fulfilled life is the practice of gratitude. Gratitude is the recognition of the goodness that already exists in our lives, and it is a powerful antidote to the endless pursuit of more. When we cultivate gratitude, we shift our focus from what we lack to what we have, and we begin to see the abundance that surrounds us. This practice deepens our appreciation for the simple joys of life: a kind word, a beautiful sunset, the warmth of a friend's smile, and it reminds us that true wealth is not found in the extraordinary, but in the everyday moments that make life meaningful. As we internalize these lessons, we come to realize that the pursuit of true wealth is not about what we accumulate, but about who we become. It is about cultivating a mindset that values wisdom over riches, integrity over success, and connection over status. It is about living a life that reflects our highest values, where each day is an opportunity to grow, to contribute, and to find joy in the journey. In the end, the wealth that matters most is the wealth of a life well lived. It is the fulfillment that comes from knowing that we have lived with purpose, that we have treated others with kindness and respect, and that we have remained true to ourselves in a world that often pulls us in many directions. This is the infinite wealth that the Stoics speak of, a wealth that is not dependent on external circumstances, but on the choices we make and the values we hold dear. As we reflect on these ideas, let us consider how we might cultivate this true wealth in our own lives. How can we shift our focus from the pursuit of material success to the pursuit of inner fulfillment? What steps can we take to live more authentically, in alignment with our deepest values? And how can we build a life that is rich not in possessions, but in meaning, connection, and purpose? In answering these questions, we may discover that true wealth has been within our reach all along, waiting to be recognized and embraced.